You are watching the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament brought to you by iFixit. SCVs for the real world. The Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And Esports United, sponsored by Intel. This broadcast is also made possible by IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Mac. I am here with Railcoon and this is Game 4 of the Global Gamers Invitational, round of 8 between HuK and SenZ. This is a possibly match point. HuK is facing elimination and has chosen Metalopolis, a good fallback map. Everyone's comfortable here. So I do want to once again thank those sponsors, iFixit, SCVs for the real world, also Esports United sponsored by Intel, and the Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And for those of you who are concerned about the terrible sync problem we're having, getting way out of sync between Rail and I, clearly I need a faster computer because I just can't keep up with Rail while he's streaming, no less. You think Fraps would have less of an impact, so hopefully this time I keep my frame rate up and you won't be telling the GG 7-8 seconds before I get there.
I even tried to slow it down a little bit because I thought I was getting ahead, but apparently I did not do that enough. But you know, we are on the close air spawns here on Metalopolis. You can see HuK immediately scouts over to the close ground spawn, and so did SenZ. It's a little bit different, but in this matchup, Zerg versus Protoss, knowing if they're in the close ground spawns is just a little bit more important. And because the air spawns aren't going to affect things as much, Mutalisks are still good no matter where they spawn. So he wants to know as fast as possible if HuK is going to be in that close position. It's going to make his early expansion unsafe. He is sending down that drone. He's going hatch first, something he has not done in the first 3 games, possibly catching HuK by surprise. You know, 3 games in a row of him going pool first is a good way to discourage HuK from putting on that early pressure. Maybe HuK will just sit back, play a bit of more of a macro game, expecting the early pool, and then he finds that, oh no, he actually went hatch first.
Yeah, he does scout both of those, sees it, and strictly speaking, it doesn't change anything. It's not too late for HuK. I mean, he may have built his gateway 1 probe later. He can still put that aggression on. The problem is that rush distance so much further from this position than if he were adjacent via land, and he's arriving at the bad spot. When he attacks, he'll be attacking near the Mengs statue, in a nice point for the Zerg to flank him, and it's tough to move his way in. If he's coming from the other side, he attacks the assimilator side. It's open, easy for him to use the geysers to shield his own zealots if he wants. And this is just not favorable for an early rush, so I imagine once again HuK's going to try and keep pace, match expansions with SenZ. And like you mentioned, with the Mutalisks are good everywhere. I mean, yes, they're good everywhere, but they're really good here. And I would not be surprised at all to see SenZ go Mutalisks because, strictly speaking, Muta-Ling it's very hard for Protoss to deal with. And if he doesn't need to worry about controlling the ground, Mutas could just do so much damage to HuK here.
Yeah, there's a certain breaking point when the Zerg player is going Mutalisks, where if he gets so many Mutalisks, he gets to that magic number, it's a lot of Mutas, it's like 20 plus. It becomes really tough for the Protoss player to deal with it, because then their only options really are Storm and Archons. And while Storm can hit a big ball of Mutas really hard, it's tough to do more than 1 or 2 ticks on the Mutas. And look at that, SenZ actually kills this statue, and you don't see that too often, but I have seen some Protoss players getting really tricky, charging up Void Rays on these statues recently because there's no destructible rocks. So that's actually gonna give him some sort of a little advantage if HuK does wind up trying any sort of Void Ray strategy. HuK doing a good old Dota style, blocking the Zerglings with that probe as they're trying to retreat, slow them up a little bit, trying to let his Zealot and Stalker get in to kill a couple of Zerglings. But he will find that there are 2 Spine Crawlers here and have to back off.
You mentioned in the previous game that maybe SenZ was not aware of HuK's preference to be very aggressive off the bat. This is 2 games in a row now. SenZ, as soon as that expansion's done, bam, 1 drone is there. This isn't a drone from the expansion. A drone comes down and lays down a Spine Crawler, and that 1 Spine Crawler completely negates that early Stalker, completely worthless. The Spine Crawler will take a Stalker out in like 10 seconds. So HuK once again unable to do any damage, forced to try and match the production, and his Nexus is going down, but it's not going to be up until SenZ is already saturated, and you'll see that SenZ's already up by 6 drones. So once again, Huck is in the position where he's behind, needs to do damage, and SenZ is just one step ahead every single time. He's already got the spine crawlers down. He's already got Hydralisks out. Huck, like again, can't catch a break as hard as he tries.
Yeah, and this layer is almost half done before the Nexus is even done. So he's really far ahead when it comes to tech. The robotics facility is only just building. Where is it? It's building at the bottom of this ramp. Interesting placement. Using that just sort of restrict the entryway into this base, make this expansion a little bit more safe.
And the layer isn't done yet, but I just noticed SenZ already has his 4 extractors up this time, unlike last time. 11 drones in production. And that really stinks of Mutalisks to me.
Oh yeah,
I'm calling it now. Mutalisks for sure.
And he's made a point of up until this point in this match, he has not made Mutalisks. If you look back, the only time he got a Spire, he got Corruptors out, did not make those Mutas. So he's mixing up the play quite a bit here in this 4th game, where Hawk is right up against the wall. He's 1 game away from victory, and he's doing completely different things. And this is something that doesn't happen very often. Usually when a player is in this position, they'll play really safe. They won't, do anything too risky because all of the pressure is on their opponent. But SenZ really trying to end it by throwing different moves at Huck. He's going to be getting a good number of Mutalisks out because he did get those extra gas quite a bit early. By the time that Spire finishes, he'll have a good 5-6 Mutas on the way. If he continues Mutalisk production, which with this 3rd hatchery up here at 12 o'clock, I gotta think he's going to be using that to get some extra gas going, getting that Muta count up to that high number we were talking about earlier, where it becomes really tough to deal with unless your opponent has perfect storms.
Yeah, this is the real problem Protoss have with Mutalisks, is that 6 Stalkers will be able to hold off 6 Mutalisks, but once that 6 becomes 12, and it will happen very quickly, Stalkers won't be able to do it. And he needs, like you said, Templar or, as many Phoenix, or half as many Phoenix as there are Mutalisks. And if he's building 15 Phoenix, then the Lings are going to end him. So this is a really bad spot, and again, Huck is forced to be aggressive, and he's getting that high sentry count. He's getting the upgrades this time, and that's different. It's good to see Huck is picking up the extra attack. He didn't do that in the previous games, but it'll be interesting to see how well he holds off this attack. The Lings are going to be swarming around. There are Mutalisks on the way. The Lings are inside. I hope we're in sync this time. We have 1 probe down. The rest are pulled back, and SenZ wisely pulls out, leaving these Lings in reserve because he's going to want them when those Mutalisks hit the main.
Yeah, and this Twilight Council is really good for Huck because that's exactly what he needs for what's happening here. If SenZ gets that Muta count up really high, both Blink and the ability to get up to Storm are just super helpful. So it's really good for Huck that he is going for this Twilight Council instead of his usual Colossus play.
Now, one thing Huck does need to do in the meanwhile is try and kill as many Mutalisks who are stupid enough to attack. He did get 1 there. They tried to kill a Pylon. Huck sniped 1 Mutalisk. That's 1 less, 1 further away from that critical mass. And there are still so many more on the way, plus 1 weapons on the way. Going to be very tough. So Huck has a few options. He is throwing down some photon cannons. He does have those Stalkers in defense. But the only way to deal with Mutalisks is to attack your opponent's base, force them to come and defend, because it's a significant portion of SenZ's army right now. His army is actually smaller than Huck's, and it's almost all Mutalisks. So if he attacks the base, the Mutalisks have to defend, and then you catch them when they're defending with Stalkers and Storms and that sort of thing. But if he waits too long, he's got to deal with constant harassment on every single expansion he makes, every part of his base he leaves undefended, and with that many, he can just roll over a photon cannon like it's not even there.
Yeah, he's up to 11 Mutalisks already. There are 4 more in production. If you look over at Huck's 3rd, he is using those Zerglings just hanging out over there, trying to catch any Zergling that comes, any probe that comes over there to try and start a 3rd base. So he's really trying to keep Huck on 2 bases for as long as possible. He's working on getting his 4th. You can see he's got those extractors building even before that hatchery is done. So he really wants to crank his gas count, make as many Mutalisks as possible here. And this is just a completely different playstyle from the previous games than what we saw from SenZ. You can see now he's up to 18 Mutalisks, 19. There's 3 more, so he's up at around that 20 number. He's probably going to be starting the 2-2 up, the level 2 weapons on that Spire as soon as this +1 finishes, which is just about to do while he's moving in with his high Muta count. Huck has not started Storm yet. His Templar Archives only just got built. So this is going to be tough because, SenZ is approaching that critical mass of Mutalisks. He's starting to make more Zerglings to control the ground, because Huck is going to be focusing all of his attention on getting rid of these Mutalisks, and it'll create a big opportunity for these Zerglings to do a bunch of damage. He catches all these forces over here without any Stalkers, so he's going to be able to wipe out all of these forces and force a cancel on this third base, still forcing Huck to delay his third expansion for as long as possible, and just putting him into an even better and better position here.
That battle was a disaster. All Sen has to do now is retreat. It's a mono-stalker army. Now there's nothing else. Now the option of attacking the base is gone. If Huck attacks the Zerg base, he's got Zerglings all over those stalkers, and they're going to get shredded under Mutalisk and Zergling fire. So Huck is in a terrible position, and he needs to make something happen right now. Storm is just starting. There are way too many Mutalisks. There are 4 Zerg bases to 2. Huck can't move out because of those mutas. He can't leave his base or it's going to get killed. He can't build a new one because it's going to get killed. He's got to attack. It's do or die at this point, and he doesn't have enough to do it.
And Sen literally just hatched 13 Mutalisks.
34 is the number.
He's now up to 37, yeah, because a couple more just hatched.
I see that too.
He just started the level 2 weapons upgrade, so now, this is a lot of Stalkers, but that's more Mutalisks. And with that +1, the bounce is doing just a little bit more. You can see he's just flying straight in on these Stalkers, cutting down that number, and he's forcing Huck to make Stalkers. It's just pure Stalker on his end. And with him cranking out this many Zerglings, making Huck produce Stalkers at this point is so good for him.
And Sen is attacking from both sides. He's hitting the expansion of Huck once again. Huck has denied that third base, and his Stalkers moving out. The Mutalisks roll right back in. 2 cannons are all that stands between these Mutalisks and all of the probes. Fortunately, Huck's able to blink in those Stalkers just in time, and he is doing a good job keeping that Muta count down. It's down to 24, but the clock is ticking.
Look at the natural. We got Muta Lane coming in, taking out quite a few Stalkers. That's not what Huck wants. Does not want to let this Stalker count fall. Muta's flying back into the main. This Muta count is down to 27, so he has dropped it back below 30, which is good for him. But that third base is so important. Huck keeps trying to build this Nexus. He's probably swearing under his breath, going, "Let me expand, damn it!" Because he really needs that base. Sen is up to 193 food with 32 Mutalisks, 73 drones, and 70 Zerglings. So his army is just frightening. He's running in with a lot of Zerglings on these Stalkers. Gonna force Huck to start making Zealots, but here comes the huge, massive Mutalisks into the main again, gonna do a ton of damage, force these Stalkers to have to run all the way back. It's gonna allow him to
gets the
pressure.
Templar.
Oh man.
Huck's one chance to maybe catch all those Mutalisks in a ball is lost. The Nexus is down. 2 more Templar, Throwing Storms down, and just like you said, the Mutas run away like it's not even there, and the Zerglings are once again laying waste to Huck's expansion. The main has fallen. Huck is off 1 base. Sen off of 4. GG from Huck. And Sen, well earned. We still have Zerg in this tournament. I really hate to see Huck go, but Sen clearly deserving to be the guy moving on.
That last game was just impressive. There's no other word for it. Sen played the same sort of strategy the first 3 games. He got ahead 2-1. He did something completely different and dominated Huck. That was not even close. He just controlled that game from start to finish with that mutilating strategy. You could tell he played that quite a lot. He controlled the space very, very well on Metalopolis. And that's the problem with, you're comfortable on Metalopolis, so is Sen.
Yeah, and it was the same as previous games where Huck really wanted to be aggressive, but time and time again, he couldn't catch a break. He shows up, there's a spine crawler waiting, he can't make an early push. He comes back again, the creep's too far, there's too many Zerglings, and Huck just could not leave his base, he could not attack. Just the whole time, Sen was in complete control of this game, and it's no surprise to see him advance, taking the series 3-1, and Huck, unfortunately, will be sent packing.
Yeah, so, like you said, it is sad to see Huck go because it's always entertaining to see him play. But Sen is a wonderful Zerg player. It's good to see that he's still in the tournament. He's going to be moving on to the semifinals, which, getting up to the top 4, he's now moving into position to get some pretty good money here.
And there's nothing but good players left to beat, and we'll see how he does against those guys. But for now, we got to move on to the next series. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and let's get the next series spun up right away.